this is an edition where you get to dance, you get to sing, you get to brush back and be fully entertained. We are coming to you from Mariah for the Mariah Old Time Wedding in the Tobago Heritage Festival 2023. Of course, this is a reenactment of what weddings on our island once were. This is going to be a great episode as we feature the Tobago Heritage Festival 2023. Come along with us. I'm Davia Chambers. In our stories, we highlight Lekoto folktales and superstitions, the Black Rock Sea Festival, and Emancipation Day celebrations 2023. Stay with us. Let's Talk Tobago. We'll be right back.
It's everything about the people.
Come out and face the people and them and talk whatever in their mind to talk.
Signal Hill, Patience Hill Electoral District. It's your turn. The THA Executive Council is coming to meet with you as we continue our district town hall meeting series. We invite you to come out in your numbers at the Patience Hill Community Center on Tuesday, 8th August at 6:30 p.m. as the Executive Council members give updates on existing and upcoming programs and projects. You also get the opportunity to share your concerns and ask questions. So join us from 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, August 8th at the Patience Hill Community Center for the Executive Council's District Town Hall meeting. People of Signal Hill, Patience Hill, Spring Garden, and the Spring Garden Trace, Orange Hill Road, Wim Estate, and Cemetery Street, Lambo, this meeting is for you. Remember, your voice matters.
And there could be no Tobago Heritage Festival without the Lekoto folktales and superstitions. And it was a very entertaining night. But don't take my word for it. Have a look at this story.
The Lekoto folktales and superstitions has always been a major highlight of the Tobago Heritage Festival. Despite the rains, many came out in their numbers to witness the retelling of our cultural traditions. This year's presentation, titled The Duke of Lekoto, Crave All, Lose All, was presented by the Lekoto Close Connection Cultural Club.
I have a sword in my hand, help me to use it now. I have a sword in my hand, help me to use it now. I'm going away to watch and pray. I have a sword in my hand, help me to use it now.
I'm really enjoying the show. It really brings back the feeling of the community. It is a good cultural show. I brought some friends here who's also experiencing it for the first time, and they're having a spectacular time.
I would say that I am definitely enjoying the production tonight. You have a little bit of drama, you have we twang. So it is really interesting, and it kind of like reminds us of how things used to be a long time, because I could tell you, I remember getting my cocktail as well back then, right? So it is really nice, and I think we should definitely continue with this.
I'm Kian Walker Hazel for Let's Talk Tobago.
For this story, you've got to grab your bottle, your spoon, and a drink of choice, because right now we head to Scarborough for the Rum Shop Lime, which has returned to the calendar of the Tobago Heritage Festival. Enjoy!
In its 36th year, the Tobago Heritage Festival has reintroduced on its calendar the Rum Shop Lime. And oh boy, was it an experience! The experience showed how the rum shop was a meeting place for adults in the village long ago. The business of the village was aired by special characters over food and alcohol, bottles, food, and a drink of your choice, where one can be sure to hear all about Tobago village affairs.
Tonight has been dubbed the Rum Shop Lime. It was really designed to revisit the days, the ancient traditional days of that, where the rum shop was like a university in sort where you are just going to this place and meet everybody and anybody doing anything and perhaps more under the influence of alcohol or influenced by alcohol in its presence.
Yeah, I come every year for the heritage. It'd be nice, you know what I mean? So I love it. I like some of the old time stuff, some of the new time stuff is a good mix. Because some of the youth now don't know about the old time stuff, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's good to kind of reintroduce a little bit more into the community.
I don't know nothing about, like I said, I don't know nothing about Tobago, and I enjoy, you know, the little I get so far.
I'm Crystal George for Let's Talk Tobago.
The Mariah Old Time Wedding attracts hundreds of spectators every year. And in true Tobago style, come let we go, because there's no other experience quite like this one. We're here at the Mariah Old Time Wedding 2023, and I have with me two visitors to our beautiful island of Tobago. This is Vintage and Naraya, and they are from Bermuda. I just want you to tell us, how have you been enjoying the Tobago Heritage Festival?
I feel that it's been very eye-opening and a great experience to experience how your culture is set up, and it's been very nice. Everybody has been welcoming and very inclusive.
One of the best trips I've taken so far. I just love it here. The music, the food, everything is just nice. The people are nice as well.
I mean, I saw you in the back dancing.
Yeah.
So we are here with Lyndon Lashley at the Mariah Old Time Wedding. We've reached down to the recreational ground where the wedding reception takes place. Now, he has been involved in this festival for over 5 years. Lyndon, what keeps you coming back?
Just the love of the arts. Just the love of the arts. We see in as heritage is something that needs a lot more young people in it. What other way to get more young people in than to have those who are just bridging that gap between the old and the young?
And you know, I must ask, how are you enjoying this year's festivities?
Ooh, boy, watch now. If Olia was not here, Olia miss out. If he wasn't here, you miss out.
They definitely missed out.
That alone says everything. If it wasn't here, you miss out.
Beside me is Assemblyman Area Representative for Mason Hall Mariah, Assemblyman Ian Pollard. Now, Mr. Pollard, you have spoken about monetizing the Mariah Old Time Wedding. Do you mind going into details for us at this time?
The Village Council of Mason Hall Mariah need to come together to have certain aspects of the Heritage Festival monetized so that those persons from the cruise ship could come and visit here and get some aspect of the Heritage Festival on a 1 hour, 1 hour and a half stop, because it's high time we start to monetize the business of the Heritage Festival.
And how have you enjoyed today's festivities?
It's been great. I'm glad to see that the young persons are intricately involved, and this is how we pass on our history.
How are you enjoying the festivities?
Beautiful. I've been to several of the shows, as many as I could, and I mean, I like it. I love it. The Mariah wedding is especially nice because I like the dances that they do and all the traditions coming out, and especially the fact that so many of the dancers, participants are so young. It is so good so that they can carry on the tradition.
Is it the first time Mason Hall New Edition folk performers is a part of the production?
Yes, because Mason Hall New Edition used to be just dancers, but now they asked me to come and be the artistic director, so I do the music and movement. The group rarely belongs to, the leader is Mrs. Erlene Crooks Ned, and she invited me to be a part of this group.
Keep watching Let's Talk Tobago.
The Tobago Harvest Experience has been added to the Tobago Heritage Festival calendar 2023. We take you to the village right now.
This is Speyside. All are we and who all are we be. This is being Tobagonian. You know, this is what it's about. Sharing and having a society that cares for each other, and we just give. You know, even the strangers within our gates we give. So Tobago just keep being beautiful.
Nestled in the beautiful east side lies the village of Speyside. And for the first time, they incorporated their harvest into the Tobago Heritage Festival. And well, basically, it was all about giving thanks, then on to the eats and drinks.
The Speyside Harvest Festival is actually the only harvest festival that always occurred during the heritage period. And so we just decided this year, since it naturally occurs during the same period, that we should add it to the calendar. And it's really a celebration of Thanksgiving. It's an opportunity for the church and the community to come together and to give God thanks for all of the year's blessings. And so between last year, July, and now, God has been good to us.
It's a unique opportunity, it's something unique. I mean, I had experiences with friends from Trinidad and they find this harvest phenomenon out of this world because
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. We continue to give God thanks for life. I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Rhea Richardson George, and this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning to you, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad. Those of you viewing in the Caribbean, and those of you on the live, good morning to you. Julian, good morning. How are you doing today?
Yes, indeed, indeed. A blessed day. You know, we are here, we're alive, we're able to follow up on the happenings. So certainly we are grateful.
All
Yes,
right.
most definitely. So viewers, we're heading straight on into news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Julian and Rhea, I am Bianna Brebner, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Thursday, 7 September 2023. PNM Tobago Council leader Ansel Dennis criticized Progressive Democratic Patriots leader Watson Duke and Tobago People's Party interim leader Farley Augustine, stating they have lost their way. Duke had called for Augustine to collaborate on Tobago's development, emphasizing on addressed issues impacting Tobagonians. Dennis dismissed this suggestion, asserting that both leaders had caused chaos and confusion in the last 20 months with rampant corruption within the THA and selling out of Tobago resources to Trinidadian entities. Regardless of reconciliation attempts, Dennis argued that Tobagonians should not expect these leaders to effectively govern and fulfill their promises. This situation, has concluded, was not what the people of Tobago voted for. A Bethel resident was fighting for his life. Junior Noel, also known as Fishy, is currently in critical condition at Scarborough Hospital following a stabbing incident that occurred last evening. According to police, the incident took place at the Mount Pleasant Credit Union Riseland, Cambie, Tobago. Noel was approached and attacked by an individual known to him. During the attack, Noel sustained multiple stab wounds to his head, face, neck, and forearm from a knife. He was promptly taken to the hospital for medical treatment. Chairman of the Paria Incident Commission of Inquiry, King's Counsel Jerome Lynch, apologized to victims' families for the report extended deadline, now set to November 30th. On February 25, 2022, 5 divers were sucked into an underwater pipe at Paria Fuel Company. 4 divers perished while 1 escaped. Originally due in May, the Commission of Inquiry extended its report deadline to August 31st. Lynch recognized families' deep frustration, citing their statements on the tragedy's impact. He emphasized the delay was not due to government interference. Lynch mentioned lawyer letters alleging bias but refrained from addressing them as no formal recusal application had been submitted. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Thank you very much there, Bianna, bringing us the news. At this point, viewers, we prepare to head on into our birthday shout-out, sponsored by KFC.
This is your birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC. This is your birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
And we get started this morning celebrating Sharla Ramsey Roberts. Happy birthday going out to you, Auntie Sharla, and lots of love. Happy 50th, that is. She indicated that it's her 50th today. So happy birthday from all of us, from the entire Wesley and Holiness family here in Tobago, my family, all of us here at Tobago Updates. Happy birthday going out to you.
Birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
To the phone. On screen, we have Josanne Franklin, or should I say Rear Officer Josanne Franklin. And right. You know, on Tobago Updates, we pull out these randoms that may be set out there. This photo is by Roger Lewis, is the photographer. Commendations indeed, but more than just the photo itself. This is actually a highlight going out to Josanne Franklin, certainly doing commendable work out there. In fact, we'll tell you exactly what the post said. And you know, we highlight good because very often you only hear about the challenges associated. And this is what I could probably describe as the very best of Airport Authority in terms of customer service and engagement.
That's right. So the caption reads, "This officer was so pleasant to me at the Tobago Airport that I had to give her a holler. One love, officer. Keep looking neat and continue with your beautiful personality. Hashtag Tobago." And definitely showcasing some of what Tobago has to offer.
Certainly, and this commendation came courtesy Look Into My Eyes of Photography. And this is Roger Lewis Photography. Certainly, we want to extend commendations out there to Officer Josanne. Continue to do your very best, and I trust that you continue to be that shining example for many. All right, at this point, viewers, we're heading straight on in to Tobago in Focus.
The Unemployment Relief Program is not the same one you knew many years ago. Program Coordinator Mr. Nairon Leung gives us insight into the diversification as well as different sectors that exist within the unit.
Well, the URP program, it's a fairly huge, one of the more, I would say, larger units within the THA, right? It is constructed of 6 units, and it falls directly under the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development, right? The units that makes up the URP are the construction unit, the environmental unit, the Women for Women program, which they would provide janitorial support to over 35 schools in Tobago, and other THA offices, right?
He stated, unbeknownst to many, the revenue-generating sectors of URP would have generated over $200,000 in the last World Food Day. These funds were generated over a record-breaking 2 days. Despite naysayers and negative commentary as it relates to URP, Mr. Leung has a vision and several projects to embark on.
The vision 2023 and going forward, right? Under the construction sector, the construction section within the URP, right? We are presently partnering with the Buku Moravian Church, right? They have meted out to the division for assistance in constructing a home for a physically incapacitated couple, right? Both cannot work and they are members of the church, and they have formed themselves into a organization whereby they would seek to bring some kind of relief to this couple, right?
The project, marked as their flagship project, is being met with passion and dedication. Materials will be provided while URP workers will provide the labor. The unit is also embarking on a latrine eradication program along the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Leung emphasizes one of the reasons for the URP program is to assist the most vulnerable, socially and economically challenged individuals within the community, and their plan is to make the unit financially sustainable.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Ria, who do we have on the rundown this morning?
All right, so Julian, this morning, and the viewers, we're going to start things off this morning chatting with Horace Amid, who's the former president of the Truckers Association, along with Curtis Williams, president of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce Tobago chapter. This morning, the focus is on the update from the Truckers Association as well as the Tobago Seabridge woes. They're going to give us some more information on how all of this has been affecting the truckers. In fact, food security in Tobago, believe it or not. And then we're going to continue on this morning chatting with.
We're going to continue the conversation with Didan Daniel, and he's the chairman of the Tobago Reforestation and Watershed Rehabilitation Program. And we're speaking Hike and Plant 2023.
All right, and then we wrap things up this morning chatting with Cindy Ann Currency, who is the operations manager for Digicel Foundation. And the focus is going to be on the Panyard Tech Centers. She's going to give us some more information on that this morning coming up on the program.
All right, excellent. And at this point, we prepare to head on into our first interview. We should have on the line joining us Horace Amid, former president of the Truckers Association, as we speak to updates from the Truckers Association and the Tobago Seabridge woes. Good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Yes, good morning. All right, so he apparently has some challenges there, not hearing us. Are you hearing us? Good morning. Well, he's seeing us. Are you hearing? Good morning. All right. So apparently he's having some challenges there with the connection, but we should be chatting with both Horace Amid followed by Curtis Williams as we speak first with the former president of the Truckers Association. And he's on with us again now. Good morning to you, Horace Amid, former president of the Truckers Association. Good morning. Are you hearing us? All right. So apparently he's still having some challenges there in terms of connecting. But we're going to be getting perspectives most certainly, because I've had persons who have been meeting me along the way, particularly in relation to this issue. You have supermarkets and wholesalers indicating challenges, as the case may be, in relation to shelves and so on at supermarkets because of what appears to be now the circumstances that have prevailed in relation to the vessel. Bearing in mind, specifically, we had that fire and so
Yes.
on board, and then certainly the challenges that may have arisen out of that. So we look forward to getting this perspective this morning. So I'm told we have on the line with us now Curtis Williams, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Tobago Chapter. Good morning.
Morning, Julian and Ria.
Good morning.
And welcome to our listeners and viewers.
Good morning. All right. So as we get the conversation started this morning, just to give us some updates, we know that there have been some obvious challenges. From where you sit as president of the Tobago Chamber, we want to get your perspective in relation to what is your understanding of what's taking place with the Cabo Star vessel through the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, Julian, as we all can see, no one knows when the Cabo Star will be back in service. Our last meeting we had with the Port Authority 2 days ago, they could not assure us what date that the Cabo Star will be back in service. So with that in mind, I think that the port, definitely, or the ministry, supposed to put something in place, not knowing the time and date when the vessel will be back. They ought to put something in place. Presently, most of our suppliers are having stock very low. Some are out of stock. The construction sector, they definitely don't have any bulk stock. Those dealing with the animals, with the feed, the islands is a bit short on feed for the feed for the chicks, etc. At our meeting with the Port Authority, there was some assurance given to us. The Galleon Passage will have been sailing every day. That's one of the assurances they indicated to us, that they will sail the Galleon Passage every day except the day when they have to do servicing. Also, they give us the assurance we were looking at bigger trucks, because the 3-ton trucks could not pull the load that is required for food and beverage on the island. As you indicated earlier on, there are a couple of shortages of bulk food items. Mainly, we have flour situation. A couple of our warehouses, they are out of flour. There are also drinks, beverages. I know some of our favorite beverage, Stag, is out of stock. Water, large water, 8 liters, 5 liters. In some cases, 1.5, they're out. Coke, drinks, carbonated beverages, the large ones, and the small ones, they are pretty much out. So we are asking the port to look at the possibility of getting the larger trucks on board to assist in that process. I know yesterday there were a couple of trucks that been left back, and the reason being, again, probably that was the day when the Galleon Passage was servicing. We asked upon the ministry, because this thing is bigger than the port now. So we asked upon the Ministry of Works, the Minister of Works, to for his intervention, because the port realized that they're restricted in what they can do. So the minister, through the ministry, may be able to intervene and give us some relief. So we're hoping that today the minister hear our cry and address this situation.
Curtis Williams, a pleasure chatting with you. Now, you said that this is bigger than the Port Authority of the office in Tobago. This is, or Trinidad and Tobago, this is at a ministerial level. It seems as though now we have to pick and choose what vehicles can the Galleon's Passage is able to accommodate. We have to cater more to food and beverage, apart from persons coming to Tobago for relaxation, vacation. Is it that food and beverage is going to be given priority over these other persons coming just for rest and relaxation?
Definitely, Rhea. Food and beverage is given paramount priority on the vessel. So it's been coordinated with Mr. Balfour and Mr. Caseman from the port on our side here in Tobago. And so the priority will be going to food and beverage. Rhea, note that there's only 3-ton trucks at the moment they can carry, and they only can carry 18 3-ton trucks. And so we know that there's a big demand for supplies on the island. A 3-ton truck probably won't take much, probably three or four pallets, if so much, and there will be a bit of restriction. So those folks who have larger trucks now will have a bit of challenge because they now have to repack or look for 3-ton trucks or truckers with 3-ton to pull their goods. There may be a little bit of cost involved here because it meant that you have to get a driver and pay, etc., to get the material up as compared to before when you used to put your trucks on the boat and then another driver in Trinidad take it off. Sometimes now the driver have to go with the trucks. I know there was a bit of leeway that the Galleon Passage was operating where there will be no need to put the driver on board the truck. So those are some of the things that came out of the meeting that we had with the Port Authority. The situation is not at the best. They know the situation could be worse, but we're just asking now for the ministry intervention, the minister, because we cannot, there's no word as to when the Cabo Star will be back in service. And the repairs of the Cabo Star is not met by the Port Authority, it's met by the owners. So if we are sitting here waiting on the owners, which may have constraint, we won't have a vessel within the next week or so.
And on whose, you mentioned that there may be some extra cost. On whose shoulders would these costs rest? Is it going to be on the taxpayers, the people of Tobago? Because if there's an increase with regards the business owners, we are going to eventually feel the pinch of it. So
well,
where would
definitely. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be on the business owners. They will carry the additional cost. Within the last 6 months, we had a good time when we could see everything on the island was running smooth. Rides have been a roller coaster for business on the island. You can imagine the hidden costs and all the stress and the pressure of just moving goods simply from Trinidad to Tobago. And really, that's not an easy task. It's really not an easy task. I mean, no one knows when fire will happen, but at the end of the day, the government ought to look at means of probably some sort of backup plans in situations like these. But we definitely silent from the minister, definitely silent from our representative or area representative, East and West. We want to hear these folks. These are the times when the people want to hear what's happening. I mean, jump on board and see what you can do as a representative. The THA hands are tied. The port remit, they don't have much control over that, and they don't even have the resources. Even we're thinking of leasing a vessel. We, the private sector, we don't have that resources, and the THA, again, hands are tied in that instance, so we are asking the minister. They have a bigger purse that could lend some support to the situation.
All right. In your capacity as president and the Tobago chapter, has there been a communication in terms of, I know the Tobago chapter in particular of the Chamber of Commerce is part of what is the national initiative in different zones throughout Trinidad and Tobago, seeking the support of your colleagues as well with regards to this issue in terms of having a greater call happening at the national level. That's one. And two, has there been any written communication on this matter, or are there plans to write to the minister in terms of raising these concerns and alerting even further that these concerns exist?
Definitely. Yesterday, we had our executive meeting via Zoom in Trinidad, and the big main body or head office indicated that they will assist because it's a national issue. It doesn't affect only Tobago, but suppliers in Trinidad cannot get this stuff across on there to Tobago. So they definitely today they will start the process of meeting out to the Port Authority. We indicated to the THA to write the ministers asking for assistance in this matter. And we ourselves in the process of penning a letter to our area representative and to get some feedback, and also the minister on the situation, because we can't leave this thing like this for the next week or two, because we don't know when the Cabo Star will be back in service. And as indicated earlier on, our warehouses are pretty much low. There are some suppliers that send staff home already. In the construction sector, they send half the staff home. In the food and beverage sector, staff gone home already. And the situation is not getting better. So someone need to listen to us on the government side and make some intervention.
Yeah, we talked, we've talked in the past about Tobago being self-sufficient. This has been a cry for a number of years. I mean, I am just a little over my 40s, just a little over my 40s, and I've been around for some time, and this has been a cry for the Tobagonians, for Tobago to become more self-sufficient. If ever a time, it's glaring us in the face, it's now. Just how much we depend on Trinidad. What sort of hope do you give? Because I'm seeing persons on the live, they're fed up of this, they're tired of this. What sort of hope do you give the Tobago public? Are you able to give the Tobago public? And I know there's not much that you can do, and you're doing the best that you can. But what sort of hope can you give the people of Tobago this morning to stick it out, to just hold the faith? It's going to turn around. It's going to work out. It's just for. It's not going to always be like this. What sort of hope?
Ulria, the hope is a bit slim. 6 years ago, when we had the Seabridge issue, and with the fast ferry, etc., the minister, through his ministry, promised us brand new cargo vessels. That's 6 years ago, Riyadh. Today, what's the conversation of that vessel? No conversation. So we see politicians make promises, and where the promises goes. And we, as a chamber and association and the Tobago public, must keep the politicians adhere to their policies. They indicated these promises, and no one keep them to these policies. And that's why we in this situation. We must let them understand that you can't promise us things and just say these things because it sounds good on news bites and etc. etc. But we're not seeing them living up to their promises. And so we call upon them to give us some conversation. Let's hear what you have to say about the situation, because the situation is not getting better, right? And as you indicated, Tobago need to really put something in place. It was bantered about that the chief sec indicated that we were looking at the transport agency, which will comprise of ASC and land. Maybe that's a move forward, and we get that agency up and running. And we look at possibilities of leasing aircraft, leasing vessels. So when things like this do happen, we just pull out our folder and we just read the plan. Because we waiting on Trinidad, we will be in real trouble, real serious trouble.
All right, we want to say thank you very much there, Curtis Williams, Chairman, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce Tobago Chapter, for joining us here this morning to provide some updates. Against all odds, we're certainly looking forward, and this is a clarion call for central government, the minister with responsibility. This is a call for the members of parliament representing across there in terms of ensuring some level of representation, and certainly this is a call in terms of the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago to find, even if it is some kind of temporary solution to the challenge, because certainly from all indications based on the conversation with the Tobago chapter, the people of Tobago will certainly be faced with challenges. And in fact, as I said to you before we got into this interview, you're already hearing complaints from persons in terms of concerns in relation to goods on the grocery shelves. So we really don't want to wait until the thing gets even more extreme to begin to acknowledge the realities.
And I'm seeing, Julian, where we have to go back to some of the old-time days. Just about a week ago, I heard persons indicating, hey, I was going to buy a bread. It have no bread on the shelves. And there's so many other products that are unavailable at this point in time. So we've got to become, I'm seeing where if ever a time we needed to be self-sufficient, Julian, it is now. We depend on Trinidad for almost everything, and it's glaring us in the face. It is not a good feeling when you want to purchase something, you can't get it at any of the grocery stores, you can't get it at any of the pharmacies, because almost every business in Tobago depends on Trinidad.
Certainly affected indeed. In fact, even when I head to the bakery, usually I go at the end of the week. Even then, the bakery and all is indicating to me in Shaw Park, wow, more people are certainly rushing, given the challenges that exist at the moment. Yeah. And it's good that you mentioned that several sectors indeed are affected in Tobago by this. And then therefore we head straight on in to this conversation with Horace Ahmed, a former president of the Truckers Association, to get their perspective in relation to some of the challenges being experienced at the moment. Good morning to you, Horace Ahmed.
Pleasant morning to you, sir.
All right. So we were just chatting with the Tobago Chamber there in terms of getting their perspective in relation to the happenings. And now we want to get from you what has the impact, and been in terms of the challenges that are currently faced by the Truckers Association with, given what's happening now with the Cabo Star and the Port Authority?
Well, okay, it's dire, right? The situation needs to be, something needs to be done, and done soon. But to get a vessel will take couple weeks or couple days or couple months to get a vessel in here. So in the interim, they are trying with the Galleon Passage and the Buku Reef and the APT James. But that's like a drop in the ocean, because if you realize on the night when the Cabo Star comes in, almost 200 vehicles would come off that boat on a daily basis. Right? There are not much warehouses in Tobago where things are stuck. So that is why we are facing the situation. If something happened 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and today is 2 weeks. So not having that amount of goods coming for 2 weeks, and based on the economy that is happening now, the economic situation that is happening, where some of the businesses in Tobago might not have been able to extend or stock the amount of goods, you will find that problem. But we should not have been in this situation, because since 2012, 2013, Ms. Haddad and the Truckers Association met with the Port Authority. We gave them certain information about a vessel that we need for Tobago, because one of my main things is that Tobagonians need to go to Trinidad. Tobagonians like to go to Trinidad in the night, that they could get there 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So if you have a doctor appointment, you will go down on the night vessel, you'll get to your appointment, and then you'll be able to catch the 5 o'clock sailing off the ferry to come, the fast ferry to come back to Tobago. All of that has since changed. It's the fast ferry leaves Trinidad at 4 o'clock. It's taken at least 4 hours to get to Trinidad on the boat. So you are sitting in a vehicle from 4 in the morning, and sometimes you won't get off that boat until 10:15, 10:30, and you have to be back by the port by 2:30. So it's costing the Tobagonians a lot. Right? When we had the Joint Select Committee, we spoke about it. We gave them all the documents that we had about a new vessel. Minister Rohan Silnan, when we got the 2 ferries, they promised that they're gonna build a custom built ferry, a custom built cargo vessel for the inter-island transport, because they had all the input from the truckers and everybody. And up to now, nothing has been done. So this is something that was waiting to happen. It happened now, and we realize that everybody is scrambling. But scrambling to do what? I was in Trinidad for the past 2 days, and from 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, trucks are heading to the port to see if they could get on the Galleon Passage. The Galleon Passage cannot take the load that is there. Right? Some talk around that even they are looking around the Caribbean to see if they could locate a ship in the interim. I don't know how far that reach, but I'll continue to say we should not have been in this position at this time. If they had custom built a ferry, we had the Panorama. They got rid of the Panorama. They sold the Panorama. Now the Panorama is out in Greece or someplace working. And you bring in vessels here that are 30 and 40 and 40 something years old to do the same job that those vessels will be doing. We had the Superfast Galicia. Superfast Galicia, they didn't take they didn't continue the contract with Superfast Galicia. They brought a vessel that is much older than the Superfast Galicia. So this is what is happening to us. Okay? Truckers, well, it's cutting into their into their daily work because you can't get back to Tobago. Yesterday evening, I was talking with a couple truckers. It's $400 a night that they're spending in a guest house in Trinidad to stay. And if you charge, when you charge for the trip, you take out your ticket money, your diesel, food. And now when you have to cater for 2 or 3 days in Trinidad in a guest house at $400 plus meals, they are literally working for nothing. Right? So this is what it comes down to. Right? So something Tobagonians have to let their voices be heard. It cannot be Horace Amede and Diane Haddad voices alone that are being heard, or at that time was being heard. They call us rebel rousers, they call us all sort of names, all the miserable, but right now the reality hit home that we realize that without a proper inter-island transport, the island of Tobago will crash.
Now, Mr. Amede, you mentioned earlier that the situation is dire. And from what you described to us a little while ago, to our viewers this morning, it really is dire. And I'm glad that you mentioned the toll that it has been taking on the truckers themselves. What would have taken a simple journey that would have taken 1 day is now taking 2 to 4 days because of the hours. And again, Tobagonians seem to be the only set that seems to be affected, or that is being affected. Okay, because we depend on Trinidad. You made mention of Tobagonians when we get that ferry at night or we travel very early in the morning. We want to get to Trinidad to maximize the limited amount of time, because many persons would have to take a day from work to transact business in Trinidad. If we can start business early in the morning and get back to Tobago in the evening, then it's just 1 day. But when we have to, without a proper functioning ferry system in place, we have to take 2 days, in some cases 3 days, to transact business, depending on where we are transacting the business. Is it in Port of Spain area? Do we have to go to San Fernando? Do we have to go to Arima? To contend with the traffic situation in Trinidad, to get back to the port in enough time to make to get on that evening sailing to get back to Tobago to be able to go to work. Tobagonians seem to be the only ones who are suffering at the hands of this situation. What is the hope? You said that it shouldn't be just your voice and Diane Haddad's. Who do you want? What do you want to see happen?
The entire Tobago population must come out and let our voices be heard. Now is not a time to be partisan. Now is a time for us to stand up and let our voices be heard. The entire Tobago, voices must be heard. You must not be hearing one or two voices. Many people are calling. What is happening? You and Diane got paid off. We are not hearing the voices. Where are the other business people in Tobago who are being affected? But you see, Tobagonians like to sit back and let one or two person do all the heavy lifting. And when a vessel or anything come, everybody comes out and they usually forget the two people or those voices that were doing the heavy lifting. They don't hear them. Everybody has come out and take praise for what is happening. We spoke to Minister Rohan, we spoke to Minister KDs when was under the UNC, and they did promise. We told them, look, we need a ship that could carry at least 250 to 300 passengers leaving Tobago in the night. Reason being, as I said before, Tobagonians like to go down in the night that they could be in Trinidad for 5, 6 o'clock. You take a shower from your cabin and you go to your appointment and you get back to the boat for the 5 o'clock sailing. They changed that to 4 o'clock. So a trip that should usually cost a Tobagonian now $150 for the day in passage, because of the time the boat leaves on morning from Tobago and the time it gets into Port of Spain. And there's a thing, if you don't know, that you call macro traffic in Trinidad. I'll explain to you what is macro traffic. If they're traveling down the road and they spot a police vehicle on the side of the road and another vehicle alongside it, everybody slows right down to see what is happening. So a distance that should take you 10 minutes, sometimes it run you up to 45 minutes because that traffic backs right up because everybody slows down. So when those things, or a simple accident on the road, when those things happen, it put pressure on you to get back to the port. You get into Trinidad, you get off the vessel by 10:30, and you reach one accident. That's it for your day. Right? So this is what Tobagonians are faced with. They change the time from 5 and they go back, they bring it up to 4. We had even suggested to Mr. Grant when he was there that the vessel should leave Tobago at least 5 on morning so people could get to Trinidad by 7:30, 8 o'clock. Right? He said to us, if that happened, the boat wouldn't have the capacity to come down. I said, Mr. Grant, listen to me. People get to the airport for all crazy hours to catch a flight. If we put it for 5 o'clock on the morning, if it happened one morning, 2 morning that it didn't get the desired crowd, the next morning it will be there. But then it might have time to do with the captain and the hours and a lot of things. Then what is also happening? When Port Authority was in charge, Mr. Grant could have made decisions. Now you have NEDCO in charge of the vessels.
All right. So sorry about that, but we're just out of time. So we got to leave it. We got to leave it there for this morning. We want to thank you very much, Horace Amid, former president of the Truckers Association, for joining us here this morning on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. And this is our reminder to you viewers to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Mount Pleasant Credit Union present the Edgar Davidson Bursary Awards 2023. Awards available are SEA, CSEC, and CAPE. Tertiary, technical and vocational. Your requirements are complete the application form, student's performance report, or transcript. Applicants must be a member or a member whose child wrote an exam in 2023. Forms are available via our website or can be collected at our branch office. For further information, www.mpcutobago.com, marketing at mpcutobago.com, or call us 639-8902 or 8375. Deadlines for submission 15th of September 2023.
So your car break down.
Oh, no, not again.
And you're worried paying a wrecker could mean a pocket breakdown too. But when you're insured with Tatil, no stress.
Yes!
A Tatil motor policy has lots of benefits that protect your pocket, like free roadside assistance. That's free 24/7 every time, as many times as you need. Tatil, where people are people. A member of the Ansa McCall Group.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Viewers, welcome back this morning to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We're chatting this morning with Dedan Daniel. He is the chairman of the Tobago Reforestation and Watershed Rehabilitation Program. And this morning, it's all about Hike and Plant 2023. Dedan, good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning, Ria. It's quite a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you on the program.
Yes, indeed.
Now, Dedan, this is not your first rodeo with this Hike and Plant.
Well, first official Hike and Plant event, but I've been a hiker for nearly 28 years, so it's something that I'm quite involved in.
Wow. Okay. A hiker for so many years. Yes. All right. Now, let's talk about Hike and Plant 2023. Give us an idea this morning of the objective of this initiative.
Okay, so the primary objective of this initiative is to get people involved in the whole thing about reforestation, about putting plants in areas that are denuded of plant life, to provide a habitat for birds, provide for shade, for the pollinators, to conserve the soil, to provide a means of providing food, all the benefits that the plants provide to the earth and to human beings and to animals and insects and birds and everything, to do it. But to have some fun doing it at the same time. So we're going to be going to the hiking route, which starts in Glamorgan, nearby Richmond actually, and nearby the Richmond Bay, that is nearby Wassa treatment plant in Richmond Bay, and we're going to be doing some planting in that area, and then we're going to check up to a waterfall. Along that whole route, we're going to be putting on at least 1,500 plants.
Okay, and give us an idea in terms of the previous ones that you would have had. What have they been like?
Well, this is the first one in Tobago.
This is the first one, but I see that there have been some, about three in Trinidad.
Yes, all of us in Trinidad, and we're going to have the Tobago leg, the final leg in Tobago. It's the first of its type in Tobago, a hike and plant event.
And how did the other three go in Trinidad?
They went pretty well from the feedback I've seen and heard. It went really well. A lot of persons came out from all walks of life, and they go into different areas and plant trees in a whole lot of different areas. And we want to do the same thing in Tobago, but with a Tobago touch, so to speak.
So you put the hike?
Yes.
All right. And this is coming up on the 16th of September.
Yes,
I noticed that there is an online registration form, and there's pertinent information that you're requesting from persons who are registering for this hike and walk.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, for several reasons. The first thing I must mention that the event is sponsored by KFC, right? And because they'll be providing meals after the hike, we want to make sure that we capture the first information on the numbers of hikers so that they will be properly catered for.
Right.
Number two, we want to gather information on the persons for upcoming events. We also want to capture like safety information, emergency contact information, so because we want to forestall any negative eventuality. So it's really about capturing data that is pertinent to the event and for future initiatives that we will have.
And I see here as well that you are asking persons, participants to be prepared and to walk with specific items such as reusable water bottles.
Yes.
And I found that very interesting. Why is that?
Yes, as a hiker, one of the things that really makes you disheartened is when you go deep in the forest and you see a water bottle, single-use water bottle that stays there, you could stay there for millions of years, right? So we urging persons to walk with reusable water bottles. When you're finished, you take it back out of the forest. The only thing you should leave in the forest is good memories and footprints, not bottles.
I love that. I love that. We need to caption that. You're also asking them to walk with garden gloves, small garden tools, example, hand shovel, hand fork.
Yes, yes. For this hike, we're going to be doing a lot of the land preparation in terms of digging the holes and so on. So a person will just have to really just come and just place the plants in the hole and they could cover it with their hand, or they could use their small garden tool to do it, right? Other things we advise persons to walk with, in addition to water, for persons who are prone to fatigue, you could walk with a mint, or prone to cramps, walk with a salt prune. Yes, right?
Go ahead, yes.
A salt prune or something salty, so that the salt could relieve the cramping and the sugar will give it that extra boost, like a dinner mint or something like that.
Okay. Insect repellent.
Yes. It's not the hill.
We're deep. No, it's not the hill.
We're deep in the forest, right? And it's part of the whole forest experience. You have to walk away with a little bite or two. But if the bite is a little too much for you, you walk with your insect repellent to But we want person to get the full experience, right? Of actually trekking to the area, challenging your respiratory system, challenging your senses, and also getting that full immersive planting experience, right? Because you're going to be doing something that is going to create a type of posterity for future generation, because the trees are extremely important. We don't want to lose sight of the thing. While it's a fun exercise activity, you're also doing something really, really good for the environment, but we want you to have that full experience.
What type of trees are you planting, or does it matter?
Yes, it will matter based on the soil type, the terrain, whether or not they have shade trees around. So we have gotten professional advice from the forestry department of the Department of Forestry in the Tobago House of Assembly. So we'll be putting down trees like foxtail palm, maho, grape, almond, sip, cedar, mahogany, yellow pui, pink pui, white pui.
Got it.
Yes, a whole lot of variety of plants, all suited for the different terrain, soil type, whether or not there's shades in the area or no shade. So it's based on the plant requirements as well.
And persons need to be mindful of what they wear. I see you put here comfortable clothing and footwear.
Yes.
Now, remember, you're going on a hike.
Yes, and one of the things about hiking is that there's always a risk of slips, trips, and falls. Always, right? So you'll want to have proper shoes that anchors your foot or your feet quite securely, right?
Not Crocs.
No, not Crocs.
Not Crocs.
Crocs is not considered adequate footwear. So you want to probably have a really good hiking boots or sneakers, well laced up, not loose fitting at all.
Yes, not a slipping.
Exactly. You want to have enough socks to provide enough cushion and hold your feet comfortably. Right. You want to get that, and also your wear must be loose. Again, nothing too tight, because you don't want them to constrict your movement. You want maximum flexibility as you traverse the trail. So you have to be comfortable, you have to be secure, you have to be safe.
All right. Now, is there a registration cost?
No, there's no registration cost whatsoever. We encourage persons to go on our website, tobagoreforestation.org, on our Facebook page, and I will be sharing it on my own Facebook page as well. You could see the information on the screen.
That's right.
And get the information so you could go and register online. We urge persons to register as soon as possible, because we want to be able to gauge in numbers and so forth. So again, I urge persons to do that.
All right. And give us, in terms of the starting time and location.
Okay, so we're gonna be the first leg of the hike and plant event will be at the Richmond Bay. That is just the spot nearby where WASA has its treatment plant, the Richmond treatment plant, and there's a bay going down there where the river is.
Yes.
Right, so that'll be the first aspect of it, and then we're going to come out of that area, cross the street, and then head up to the Glamorgan area, up to our waterfall. It's one of the most beautiful picturesque waterfalls you will ever find. And that's like, we want to call that the crescendo of the hike.
Okay.
Right, where you'll see a marvel that a lot of people who are born bred Tobago and have not seen. So you'll be quite of a privileged group to experience that.
Dina, is this for younger folks or is it for the not so young folks like myself? Who's this hike really for?
It's for all age groups. All age groups. And
Do you think Julian can handle it?
Yeah, man. And Julian, you're supposed to be there. To exalt Julian, he needs to be there. He needs to capture the experience firsthand so he could relate it to the guest when he comes back next week, the following week, so let people know how it was. It's all age groups, all fitness level. A hike is not a race.
Right.
It's not a race, and we don't leave no one behind. Not at all. So it's starting from 7 and it will go up to 12. That's a whole 5 hours, which is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right? So there's enough time for actually doing the hiking, for rest stops, for whatever type of recreation and so on, and to be back in time, which is adequate time. We could probably do it in 3 hours, but 5 hours, because it's enough time for everyone. And persons of all age groups, all fitness level are encouraged to participate in this hike.
All right. Thank you so much for chatting with us this morning, Dinan and Daniel. And again, viewers, Dinan is the chairman of the Tobago Reforestation and Watershed Rehabilitation Program. So it's all about this hike. Give us some quick, remind us of some quick numbers.
Yes, so what I would want to say is I also want to acknowledge the stakeholders and partners who are part of this whole hike and plant event. I'd like to mention people like GA Finishers and the Tobago Kickboxing Federation. I'd also like to mention the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited, which is a key stakeholder, the Glamorgan Youth Foundation, the Tobago Heritage Conservation Society, the Hike and Plant Committee, which is out of Trinidad. All these organizations would like to acknowledge their involvement in this event, and we hope that it's going to be an annual event going forward.
Okay, and some quick numbers here for persons to call.
You could call me personally at 482-8189.
Okay.
Right? Or you could check out our Facebook page, like Tobago Reforestation Facebook page, and you could also check out my Facebook page. And again, also our website, which is tobagoreforestation.org.
Okay. Dina and Daniel, again, a pleasure chatting with you this morning. Thank you so much for being on the program. There was lots more coming up this morning on the Tobago Updates Morning Show, so share the live, share the live, share the live.
Yes, indeed.
But this place is boring enough. We don't even do nothing. Let me go somewhere now.
I really want some new things, yes? Then look no further. Portmore is the place for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can have anything that your heart desires. Take a look for yourselves. A world of endless opportunities. Feeling hungry? Go get something to eat. Books and stationeries, games, and much more. Portmore, the island's beat.
summer at Standard. It's a dream for the summer. Dreamy, steamy. Standard. What you have? What you have? All the best deals, no drama. Standard be beat like a hammer. Go tell your friend, tell your papa, tell your mama. We got more, we got more. Standards are what is searching for. Quality brand, discounts galore. New things for the summer, online in store. Summertime is here, so make the most out of it at Standard. Never beaten on quality and price. It's nice.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. And in this segment, we are going to be chatting with Cindian Currency, and she should be joining us online, Operations Manager of Digicel Foundation. And we're speaking the Panyard Tech Centers. Good morning to my very good friend out there, Cindy. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, Julian. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so happy to be in Tobago.
I know. But don't worry, we know that the virtual is usually followed by an in-person. So we look forward to that follow-up.
I'll be there tomorrow.
we want to get the conversation started before we even go into the extended deadline. You'd have done some work specifically with Tobago Panthers, a very impressive initiative. Enlighten us a little bit about that and the support of the Digicel Foundation.
Okay, so when we started our digital citizenship program back in 2017, it started to kind of change and transform into what else can we do. And coming out of COVID, we looked at trying to equip spaces, community spaces, with computer labs, that students within those communities can then have access to free internet, to a proper device, because we realized coming out of COVID, you may have had a device at home, but it might be a cell phone. It might be somebody else's cell phone. And so we looked at communities that had spaces that we could develop these computer labs in. And last year, we received an application from Tobago Panthers, and they wanted to do a lab in their panyard. And we thought that was kind of unusual. So, of course, did the site visit, met with the team, realized they have a beautiful space. They identified that they had this additional area within the panyard that they can transform into a computer lab. And that's really how the partnership started. Getting Pantry and Bago on board then invited them to launch the initiative. And the president at the time, she talked about how it was more than just a panyard, and she referred to it as a center of excellence. And that for us is what then made us think, so why not do a panyard addition to our Thai centers for this year, which our year started in April. And so we came into the brand new year thinking about, let's reach out to panyards for them to apply for this funding to develop these spaces. And then lo and behold, World Steel Pan Day was announced. And so it just fit lovely into what we wanted to do. And so we launched the initiative on World Steel Pan Day in collaboration with Pantry and Bago.
Excellent. So we look forward now, and I particularly like the build-up, of course, because it starts in Tobago. But tell us now about the national initiative as we speak to Panyard Tech Centers and that outreach, as you said, to really bring that unique combination in terms of introducing technology in the panyard so that additional support is given to that space of excellence as described by Pantry and Bago President Beverly Ramsey Moore.
So what we realized in working with the Tobago Panthers is that a lot of panyards, and we've worked with panyards before, we've worked with other steel bands doing different things, whether it's a homework center, etc. But so in addition to the work that we've done in the past and working the experience that we had with Tobago Panthers, we have a lot of panyards that are really organized. Right? We have a lot of steel bands that are really organized. Some of them have panyards, some of them don't, unfortunately. Some of them have a space that belongs to them, a space that probably they can expand. They have the youth following. We know that the community knows where the panyard is, so parents know where their children are, even when, pan practice is running late. We know that pan practice and panyard activities happen outside of Carnival. Right? So there was already that captured audience. And so when we reached out to Pantry and Bago about how we're going to do this initiative and roll out, because we want to make sure our major stakeholders are also at the table. We're not just going to throw out a project for the community without inviting the community to tell us how best this can work. Pantry and Bago then, the executive, they identified 4 steel bands that we can roll this initiative out into. So that's Cats and Jammers, NGC Couva Joylanders, Harlem Syncopators, and Curab Sherzando. So these 4 panyards were selected by the executive of Panchinbrego to receive a tech space. And what we wanted to do at Digicel Foundation was throw it out again nationally for other panyards to apply for 4 additional spots. So in total, it's 8 spaces that we'll be redeveloping at panyards. 4 of them, it's a call for applications that's out right now and that we've extended until this Sunday at midnight. It's to develop this space. It's about $500,000 TT dollars investment from the Digicel Foundation. So this is big and this is huge for panyards, and we really want them to take advantage of it. And what we're looking for is bands that have a space, right, that have a youth following. That's really important. We want to know that when you put these computers, these devices in this space, that your young people can access it. We want to know that you have volunteers, you have some kind of program, some kind of support, which is something we got from the Tobago Panthers because they partnered with the Division of Community Development. I think their youth development officer is the person that has helped the panyard and the community develop the correct kind of program so that the volunteers can follow through to support the students. Right? They're not just coming to play games. They're also coming to get help with homework, and they have an entire system there that's supposed to be working really well. So we want the other groups that are applying to have those things in mind. So you want to have a space, you want to have to other stakeholders who could give you that additional support. We've seen it. I mean, after school programs, it's not a new concept. Some panyards are already doing this, and we just want to be able to give this additional boost to you to make your space into a center of excellence.
All right, certainly. And you're just hearing the story of it. So we want persons to know clearly the opportunity is still open there for 4 more panyards. You've heard an idea. Tell us a little bit about the application process. How do these panyards apply? I know you gave an idea of what is required, but how do they actually apply in order to be considered?
It's an online application process. So you visit our Facebook and Instagram pages. It's at Digicel Foundation TT. You'll see the link in the bio to access and every day we post and we send it out. So it's there for you to go in and send in an application form. In the application form, it also gives you those additional details that I outlined before. Make sure you have a space. We want to make sure the space can hold about 3 to 5 computers with the furniture. If we need to put in air conditioning units, we'll do that. We'll do some minor upgrades to make it comfortable, and we'll also include furniture. Right, so the online application, it's on our social media pages. We want the bands to be registered bands, right? So they must be. I'm guessing. Well, Panchinbrego is an entity, right? They are a force. So I know that these steel bands, they have that registration to prove that they are part of the fraternity. And we're not giving the cash to the groups. We will be the ones purchasing the machines, putting them in, visiting your space, working with you in terms of what you want it to look like and feel like, and we will implement the centers at the space for you. So it's really, really simple. We're closing off applications on Sunday at midnight. And midnight, that form will no longer be available. From 1 a.m. on Monday morning, it's no longer going to be available. And then we're going to go through our selection committee to select the next 4 that will receive this technology and education center.
All right, certainly. And we're looking forward to the rollout of this initiative within the coming months following the deadline.
Yes. So what we will do is that once we start launching them, we always invite the media to come to the community. And that's really important. That's a real key part of any community project. Getting our major stakeholders, especially the media, to come to the community to see what they've done, to hear from them, to talk to their young people, to see how this will in fact impact their lives. And what we like to do as well is do a follow-up. So yes, we're coming when it's time to cut the ribbon and everything is pretty and nice and shiny. But let's check back in 6 months to see how it's going. How is the program running? How are the participants feeling? Are they growing? Do they feel it? So we really want to encourage you guys to come out when we send out that invitation to attend. And I see you're showing us the launch for the it was really something. It gave us all goosebumps. It was really, really something special working with this team in Golden Lane.
Well, I definitely wanted, as per usual, take the opportunity to send our commendations to the Digicel Foundation. And you see how great a partnership can be in Tobago here. And I'm glad you made the reference, the combination between the Digicel Foundation, the Tobago Panthers, and NGO operating, and the connection with the Department of Youth Development and the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport in the Tobago House of Assembly, working together to really provide that level of support. Because, you know, for very long years ago, the panyard would have been known as a space where you're not as comfortable, that it is too safe to operate in. So it's good that we're adding more than just music and extending that experience for the greater incorporation of technology. Before we end this morning, anything else you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners, Cindy?
Yeah, I think it's really important just to kind of add to what you said about that stakeholder engagement and that partnership. Partnership is key. We have a lot of nonprofit organizations operating in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of them, you know, they have their mandates and they have their audience and their targets and they know what their objectives are and the key messages. But it's really important to find the similarities, the synergies, and partner with others to really drive and deepen impact. Impact is what we're looking for. Corporates can only do this much. We will provide the funding. It's important for us to have those outputs and the numbers as well. But impact is what will really transform our communities. And that's what we're about at the Digicel Foundation. We want to be a part of that community transformation for Trinidad and Tobago. So I really want to applaud all of those who've already applied. I want to encourage those who are yet to apply, you know, to look at it. If it fits your criteria, if you meet the criteria, send in the application. If it doesn't, find another group to partner with. If you can contribute to them and help bolster their program so that they are successful, do that as well. Reach out to others if you can lend their assistance. But midnight, it closes on Sunday, and then we're going to announce the 4 winners, and then we're going to start to implement the initiative throughout our panyards in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right, so folks, you have as of midnight on Sunday, that's the cutoff. So you've got now until midnight on Sunday to ensure that you make your submission. Contact information for those who might have listened to the interview but want to just check in for some additional info. Just remind us very quickly your social media handles where they can get additional information.
Social media handles at Digicel Foundation TT. I respond to those messages right away and personally. We also have an email address if you'd like to send us an email to maybe ask some more questions. It's Digicel Foundation TT at digicelgroup.com. Right, but I think the quickest way to reach us is via social media. Right, we're on it. We're there. We're here to support you. So send us your questions, your concerns, and somebody from our team will be able to reach out to you and address those as quickly as possible.
Thank you so much, Cindy-Ann Currens, the Operations Manager of Digicel Foundation, for joining us here on set and certainly continuing to make that extra effort at Digicel in terms of doing that well beyond that corporate responsibility and building out and working with our NGOs. So indeed, kudos and commendations. Viewers, we want to thank you so much, but we're going to leave it there. This is the Tobago Updates morning show. I want to thank you so much for connecting with us and continuing to choose Tobago Updates television. At this point, we prepare to head on into Tobago Notes, and this will be followed by GMT. Take care and bye-bye for now. Stay connected.
Bye.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
Shanika Adams is an aspiring doctor, currently pursuing a medical degree at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. So 9 weeks of work experience under the Tobago Regional Health Authority's summer internship program was an ideal fit for her, along with 52 other interns during the July-August vacation.
I would say it was enlightening and eventful. We did a lot of activities, workshops on Fridays, as well as I had the opportunity to work in the A&E, Accidental Emergency at Roxbury Hospital, as well as MOPC, which is a medical outpatient clinic. For a lot of persons who may or may not know what field they want to enter into, it helps you to discover your niche. At the TRHA, it doesn't only consist of, as I first thought, of the medical faculty or the medical sector. It also includes human resources, finance, accounts, education, and as such you have different opportunities to explore.
I worked at the Department of Environment at the Scarborough General Hospital. It was a very eventful experience and I enjoyed it. I was mainly grateful for gaining experience in the leadership aspect, because leadership is a quality that would push youths forward to do great things. And time management is also hand in hand with leadership. A good leader is a good time manager.
The synergy between your studies and the internship is crucial in nurturing your passion and fueling your professional ambitions. Interns were able to apply their theoretical knowledge to practical tasks, but also foster a sense of relevance and enthusiasm for their chosen fields. This alignment also benefited the TRHA, as interns are better equipped to make valuable contributions.
I hope that this experience that you've had would allow you to critically determine whether being within the health field really is what you love to do. Ensure that wherever you go, ensure that what you do, ensure that what becomes your life journey is something that you actually want to do. And ensure that it is something that you enjoy doing, and coincidentally, it is wonderful that you get paid to do what you enjoy doing.
The internship program included tours to various medical facilities and weekly life skills sessions. It was restarted this year under the theme Investing in Youth, Building with Us.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denicia. Let's go.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region, with the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine. I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Council political leader Ansel Dennis criticized PDP leader Watson Duke and TPP interim leader and Chief Secretary Fali Augustine, stating they've lost their way. Duke called for Augustine to collaborate on Tobago's development, emphasizing unaddressed issues impacting Tobagonians. Dennis dismissed this suggestion, asserting that both leaders had caused chaos and confusion in the last 20 months with rampant corruption within the THA and the selling out of Tobago's resources to Trinidadian entities. Regardless of reconciliation efforts, Dennis argued that Tobagonians should not expect these leaders to effectively govern and fulfill their promises. This situation, he concluded, was not what the people of Tobago voted for. And now to this, a Bethel resident is fighting for his life. Junior Noel, also known as Fishy, is currently in critical condition at the Scarborough General Hospital following a stabbing incident that occurred last evening. According to police, the incident took place at the Mount Pleasant Credit Union in Riceland, number 3, Canby, Tobago. Noel was approached and attacked by an individual known to him. During the attack, Noel sustained multiple stab wounds to his head, face, neck, and forearm from a knife. He was promptly taken to the hospital for medical treatment. And finally, Chairman of the Paria Incident Commission of Inquiry, King's Counsel Jerome Lynch, apologized to victims' family for the report's extended deadline, now set for November 30th. On February 25, 2022, 5 divers were sucked into an underwater pipeline at Paria Fuel Trading Company. 4 divers perished, while 1 escaped. Originally in May, the COE extended its report deadline to August 31st. Lynch recognized families' deep frustration, citing their statements on the strategy's impact. He emphasized the delay was not due to government interference. Lynch mentioned lawyer letters alleging bias, but refrained from addressing them, as no formal recusal application had been submitted. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
On Tobago Updates, viewers, it's a wonderful day here in Tobago, and it's Great to be joining you this morning and getting into our show for today. We are going to be joined for the whole entire show by the Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, and of course, that's none other than Mr. Trevor James. So, good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Candice. Good morning, Tobago, to your viewers in Trinidad and around the world. Pleasant good morning.
And viewers, I promise you this morning that we did not coordinate our outfits beforehand. This is all coincidence. But yeah, we are here this morning to speak about the developments that's happening with the Scarborough redevelopment project. Now, a report has been made to the public. So if you haven't been able to see or hear anything about what's been going on or the latest developments, it's there for you. So, Mr. James, can you just give us, like, in a nutshell, just what is it? What came out of the reports?
Well, just to go back to remind the public of the history of the project, we went to the public. We came to the public in lead up to the 2021 January election, presenting a new vision for Scarborough that would hopefully rebuild an economy in Tobago and begin the transformation of Tobago. We again represented it in the December election. We came into office late December. The Chief Sec and the Executive Council accepted the mandate of the PDP then as government policy in Tobago, which meant that the administration accepted the redevelopment of Scarborough as in fact government policy. This has been in the media for a long time. Subsequent to that, we engaged Geometrics, architectural company with a series of consultants to undertake a feasibility study. We engaged the public through three, what I may think is massive consultations, probably never seen in Tobago or Trinidad and Tobago. Out of that, the consultants came back with the final feasibility report, which took into consideration issues raised in the first consultation. Remember that they used our concept design then as the genesis for their design. So they looked at the bay, the wave current movements in the bay, the traffic situation, the economics of bringing crews and increased cruise passengers to Tobago. And we are satisfied that the report captures what we believe is the vision for Scarborough and took into consideration the concerns of the public, which caused a change in the concept design that we presented. And we hope that when the public downloads it and reads it, we want to estimate, given a month's time, later this month, we'll come back to the public with a new consultation process.
And so I know one of the people that were very key to this project or the design of this was Mr. Joshua Stewart, who unfortunately passed. What impact is that having, or is it going to have any impact on just the future of making this thing happen?
Well, condolences again to the family of Joshua Stewart. This is the last major project he worked on, and I think at some point before he died, he had given up every other project he was working on to focus exclusively on this Scarborough project, and it's unfortunate when I heard of his passing. But thankfully, the major part of the work had come to an end, and the consultants putting together the final aspects of the presentation, and it's sad days for Josh, but we continue to move forward. We have an opportunity in Tobago to build an economy that eventually will move Tobago forward, and we will continue to press on.
All right. Now, moving on to some other things within the space, we have some outstanding projects that are going on, and one of that has to do with that road, that connector road from Sherburne to Strawberry Local Road, where we were supposed to have a nice bypass going on. But we know that the EMA got involved, and the EMA took the THA to court and they got an injunction. So what's the update on that? Where are we?
Candice, I thought we were focusing on Scarborough today, but we are hopeful that the EMA will in fact grant the CEC sometime this week or next week, and the project will continue. We feel and we felt that it was maybe legal but not right for the EMA to take out an injunction against a government project. But that's the laws that we have. That's where we are in Tobago still, and we will continue to move forward. We have been delayed. We saw no issues with the project as it was, and we had always intended to go forward, and we will go forward. We'll be delayed, but we will still go forward. We in Tobago have to understand where we are and how we arrive at where we are. The Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago has always been making laws to hinder the development of Tobago. We remember when the first THA Act was passed in the Parliament, that they only had one secretary in the Act for 20 years. And Mr. Robinson, then in his wisdom, appointed secretaries contrary to the law and paid them supposedly contrary to the law. And then the Parliament, 16 years after, decided that they would now include secretaries in the act that will govern how Tobago is functioning. And so we have the history of the Parliament and maybe politicians in Trinidad believing that it is their right to determine for the people of Tobago what we should do, how we should do it, and when we should do it. And the population of Tobago has to consider these facts when they vote.
So, I mean, so where does that leave the THA now in terms of that road? Do you think that we would be able to get the...
No, the road will be built. The EMA will grant the CEC. They will delay, obviously. That's the political strategy behind it. But they will grant the CEC. And when they do grant the CEC, we will complete the road. We will be delayed, but the people of Tobago will benefit from a new road that should have been built since 1985. And so as they work on the airport, we believe the road will add tremendous value to the people who will travel to the airport and who use Crown Point, Canaan, Bonaccord as their homes and who go doing business in that area. And the road will alleviate a lot of traffic and will open up a new area for development on the island.
And then what's also happening with some of the other outstanding road projects here in Tobago in terms of, because there were originally 4 major road projects mentioned at the start of your time in office that you wanted to engage on. One was completed, and that was the one in Scarborough, the Dutch Fort Connector Road in Scarborough. But what's going on with the others?
Well, as you know, the one we just spoke about in Friendship, the one at Lamy is 95+% complete. I think the contractor is going to install a bridge sometime next week at the end of Roxborough. The one through Lato Estate going into Mount Pleasant development on that side, it appears that the contractor has abandoned the job, and there's some contractual issues to sort out there. But yeah, that's the update.
All right. Well, we're just going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue with our conversation. So please don't go anywhere.
A brand new dawning as the passion starts.
national borders. Our first step to security, but a possible access point for guns, drugs, crime. If it does not look right, do the right thing. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. 800-8477. Report possible border crime.
Right now, Tobagonians are just currying down to Bonaccord, right in Stobie local road. You know why? To come down and shop at Authentic Builders General Hardware, the only hardware store in Tobago that is giving you guys Trinidad prices. So for instance, such as steel, half-inch and 5/8, $7,895. 5/8 construction ply for $260. Every single thing that you will need to do your home renovation or start your new construction, we have it right here. And to get your quotation, it's very easy. Just WhatsApp us at 272-1990 and we will do your free WhatsApp quotation for you.
Wait, I do even have suit and thing for this wedding. Why getting them thing?
Well, look, put my right over there.
Alright, thanks.
The Port Mall, where the varieties are large from your favorite stores, from restaurants to salons and from clothing stores to jewelry stores, located at Sanctus Hill, Scarborough, Tobago. Telephone number is 868-334-6589.
Wow. I didn't expect to see you here. Look good.
Thanks. It's all because of you and Port Mall. But here now I'm going to our wedding. You want to join me?
Yeah, that's okay.
Alright.
Beat the rush and come on down to the Port Mall.
Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denicia. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are continuing our conversations this morning with the Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, Mr. Trevor James, as we discuss some of the things that are happening in Tobago, particularly what's going to be happening in Scarborough. So let's turn our focus to the Scarborough redevelopment project, especially where certain things like the port is concerned. And we know at this point in time, the port, that access to Trinidad is quite heavy on our minds here in Tobago with what's been going on with the Cabo Star and so on. So what are some of the plans that we have to actually expand that space? Because right now we could only really accommodate 2 vessels in there at a time.
Candice, when the TPP launched a few Sundays ago, I relayed a story, one of my stories of my first or second trip to Trinidad as a young guy below 10, I think, at the time. And Tobago is still there 50 years hence. We are still dependent on a vessel between the islands to get goods and services into Tobago. The Cabo Star issue that we are now grappling with, which will crash the Tobago economy, is just an example of an island being managed from outside that has been abandoned. We have structured a country. The Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago has structured a country where one part of the country is dependent completely on the other part. If the lifeline bursts, if the port in Port of Spain gets damaged, if there's a storm in Port of Spain and it gets flooded out, Tobago suffers. Everything that we import comes through the port of Spain or Point Lisas to be transshipped to Tobago. And we have to ask ourselves in Tobago, why is that? Is that necessary today in 2023? Couldn't we import directly to Tobago? Why can't we do that? And one of the problems the development plan was trying to solve is that problem. How do we bring significant numbers of a transient population into Tobago to help our economy? All the islands around us, from Jamaica down to Grenada to Curacao, are dependent on transient population from outside to bolster and boost their economy, their economic demand for goods and services on the islands. Tobago has been left out of that simply because we've not had the vision. The government and the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago has not had the vision to understand that if we develop Tobago and Tobago functions quasi-independently, then it benefits the entire economy of Trinidad and Tobago. And they've just not acted in our favor. And so the project in itself is one of the major solutions to that problem. And the people of Tobago, in my humble view, must buy into the vision that we have. Because without it, we are going to fail. The Cabo Star is down. The information I have is that Lloyd's of London has pulled their insurance, ISO has pulled their certificate, and to get back those two documents, it means that boat has to be in pristine condition. This is a boat that has 4 38-year-old engines. This is an old boat. And we have a prime minister that came into office, and we remember when the previous boat was in place and they said they couldn't renew the contract and all of that, and we were bringing goods on barges to Tobago. People forget that. A lot of people had to repair their cars for salt water damage because of that. And we still can't have a redundant boat. You have structured a country where Tobago is dependent on imports from Trinidad. And you can't have a redundant boat. What kind of planning is that? I think Tobagoans on the whole are fed up.
Yeah.
Certainly I am fed up. And we need to take our development into our own hands. We need to plan it for ourselves, and we need to push as hard as we can to make sure that we are pushing the direction that Tobago needs to go. And we hope that those in the parliament, the 39 in the parliament who wish for us to come and beg them to vote for this and vote for that in the parliament, we wish that they would understand that as part of this country called Trinidad and Tobago, that we are equals.
Now, as it relates to the actual development of the port itself, because we know that the plan was heavily focused on making sure that we can handle the increased passenger from our domestic ferries or inter-island ferries, as well as cruise ship passengers. So I want you to expand a little bit on, what came out of the report as to what we can do here in Tobago.
Well, the researchers and the consultants looked at various ports in the region going up from Curacao to Mexico. And what they found was that there are a series of multi-use ports. From Grenada, from Williamstead and down south to Kingston, we have a series of multi-use ports, meaning that we have cruise and cargo together, because we are running small economies that simply cannot afford to build out separate ports in different locations. In Antigua, cruise ports and cargo ports are adjacent to each other. St. Vincent is now rebuilding their port in Grenada. And so while during the consultation, there have been concerns about that, and there were a lot of suggestions of maybe moving the cargo port to another location. Some people had suggested Studley Park. Some people suggested leaving cargo in Scarborough and putting the cruise in Plymouth and so on. From an economic standpoint, it was more feasible to have a multi-use port. In the Bay of Scarborough itself, we have some challenges, and so the wave study of the Bay suggested that it would have been more cost effective and it would have been cheaper, given the fact that we have to build out this new infrastructure while we manage what we have now, that we will move the two major parts of the cruise terminals to the eastern side of the bay, and building out the cruise terminals, shopping areas, and so on in that area, while we continue to use this area, and we will put the cargo port, the cargo pier, behind what we call the esplanade on this side of the bay.
So
And
basically,
that
if I
is-
understand it correctly, the cruise would be moved more towards the esplanade.
the cruise will move more towards the east,
Okay.
and we're going to reclaim a piece of land which will be below the police station and Bidley Beef place around it back there. And we'll put the cargo on this side. And so we found a way in concept to ensure that the full bay could be utilized, and the city of Scarborough can benefit from a major influx of people, and Tobago could benefit. Now, one of the other issues that we need to contend with, of course, is the road infrastructure in and around Scarborough.
Right.
And that too has become a major part of the report. We have a series of new roads, a series of developments to support what we see will be an increased population usage in Scarborough. We have the car park, the transportation hub, the proposal for a new hotel, residential area, a re-upgrade of the Botanics Gardens area, and essentially that will become our phase one of the project. The public may or may not know that the Division of Infrastructure went out with a request for proposals for interest in PPP projects in a multi-sectoral approach in Tobago. And out of that, we've received 8 proposals for various areas. Two proponents who've presented an intent to finance and build the city of Scarborough as we've designed it. We have a major one for Friendship Estate. We've had local developers putting in requests to build a major tourism facility in Culloden Estate. And so the division is now evaluating these interests and seeing how we can move forward. And we believe that hopefully before the end of this month, we'll announce an intent to move forward with the city of Scarborough, one of the developers.
Now, what would be one of the first moves? Is it still going to be put in some of the lines, the electrical lines and so on, the utility poles, the utility facilities? Would that go underground? Would that be one of the first moves? Or has that project been pushed back for a little bit more?
No, we held back our hands on that because we weren't sure of what the final road infrastructure design would be. And that will become part of the phase one of the project. And instead of the division executing that separately, and maybe impacting what the final design could be, we decided after the fact to wait. We think that was a better decision, and the road infrastructure will become part of the whole project, and will be phased in a way to ensure that the intended goals are being achieved, and the people can still use the existing roads in Scarborough and the existing port facilities, and so we hope that when we decide to sign off on this developer, that a major part of the discussions pre-signing will of course be the phase-in, the financial model that we would use for payback and all of that will be discussed up front, and then we will present that to the people.
Mm-hmm. And so when can we see the first parts of that project being implemented?
We are hopeful. We see the Ministry of Works attempting to extend the jetty, the guide jetty in Scarborough. We have concerns, and it is tantamount to a big sibling seemingly wanting to prevent the younger sibling from moving out from downstairs the family house and trying to put stumbling blocks in the way.
Is it that the THA was not consulted about the extension of that jetty?
Absolutely not. We were not consulted, and so we have some hurdles to jump over, no doubt. And the thing about Tobago, though, is that we have been accustomed to not getting things easy. In this union, we've been struggling and fighting every step of the way, and those in Trinidad seem intent on continuing that struggle. And so we took a decision at the EC yesterday that the CS will reach out to the Ministry of Works, the Prime Minister, whatever the process is, to begin the discussions on the port, and we'll see where that goes. We are hopeful, however, that come January we will be turning south.
And as you mentioned, those discussions about the port, I just want to go back a little bit again. How much capacity are you hoping to establish at the port when this is complete?
In terms of cruise passengers, we're hoping to get to 1 million, but the projections I've seen in the report seem to think that in the first year after completion, we can get to 250,000 passengers, given the capacity we would have. But this is not a project in isolation, so the Secretary for Tourism will attend these cruise conferences, and we begin a more aggressive marketing of the project. Once we sign off with a developer, we would begin a more international marketing of the project to ensure that the cruise liners are aware of the new facility coming on stream. And Candice, being in the fortunate position of coming last, we have the opportunity to build out something in Tobago that is different from around the region. The technology that we could now have in Tobago would not exist in anywhere else in the region. And that will be one of our drawing cards. The geographical location is a major drawing card. Several liners have been trying to find a port in Southern Caribbean to use as a home port. Tobago will in fact benefit from that kind of interest.
So there will be facilities to make Tobago a home port for cruise lines if they wish?
Absolutely. That's the end goal that we have. That because that is what will build the other aspects of the economy, the agricultural sector, the services sector, the inter-island connections. You could imagine that if Royal Caribbean had Scarborough as a home port and 5,000 passengers had to fly into Scarborough, fly into Crown Point to take up a cruise, what that will do for the hotels in Tobago, what that will do for the airport. We begin to ask ourselves whether what is being built in Crown Point will be able to satisfy the demand that we expect to have in a few years. That's one of the things I've complained about. What they're building now, apart from the building of the terminal building itself, the capacity now is exactly what is in Western Crown Point. They're duplicating it. Same 2 or 3 wide bodies, same 4 AR-40s. That's the capacity, and so we have to get more involved in the development, and we have to, as to begin, we have to take charge of this island that we have, because the history that I have suggests that when we leave it to those in Port of Spain, what they do is build things that constrain us and essentially in the local parlance keep us in our place. And we have to become more manly in how we represent Tobago and Tobagonians as a whole and as a group, whether those who live here or those who are the diaspora in Trinidad and abroad, we no doubt have to come together to put pressure, given the political system we have today, to put pressure on the Parliament to act in Tobago's best interest. And we don't think that has been done and that has ever been done.
Now, when it comes to the feasibility studies, because I know you mentioned that there were studies with the wavelength, just the patterns, the currents, and all of those things were part of the feasibility studies that formed the basis for this report. What are the environmental concerns that were raised for the parts of the project that talk about reclaiming the sea in some areas, building out some infrastructure into the sea, especially in light of all the other problems that we're seeing on our coast lately?
Well, in the Bay of Scarborough itself, the major environmental concern had to do with the wrecks that are in the bay. The design, the concept design has built around areas where the wrecks are.
Oh.
We have incorporated part of the intent is to incorporate the use of moving the wreckage from where it is and placing them in another area of the bay and creating a whole dive industry around it. As you know, where the wrecks are now, 2 or 3 rivers come into the bay and the water there is not good for diving. So we're going to hopefully move the wrecks, prick them out, and then of course resink them further west, where the water should be a little cleaner, and we'll create a whole dive industry around that. So that's one of the things. The other issue, of course, has to do with dog reef and the impact that has for the protection of flooding in Scarborough. And so the engineers and the designers are going to put something best. For the most part, when we move the cruise terminals to the east, we've reduced the need for a new channel. A new channel would, of course, meant that we'd have to blast away part of the coral of dog reef. So the designers took that into account. And even staying in this area would have meant building a massive breakwater as well, east and west, in order to protect the bay. So the movement to the east with the terminals, with the piers, has moved us away from that cost and trials of dealing with all of these issues there. So I think we've had a comprehensive report that led to this new concept. People of Tobago too have to understand that this will be a design, build, operate, maybe transfer contract, essentially a full PPP project. And so the onus is on the contractor, will be on the contractor to come up with a design that works. Mm-hmm. So we've presented the concept to give them a starting point, which is what governments do. And they would come in, they would do their own due diligence, obviously. And we're talking spending large volumes of money here, because they will have to ensure that they can recoup their monies from the operation of the facilities. And so we expect that they would do their own feasibility as well, a more in-depth feasibility, which may or may not affect the design concept that we have. Mm-hmm. But we are open for those kinds of discussions moving forward.
Now, I mean, when you look at the designs and everything, it's very elaborate, and it's going to make Scarborough look very beautiful. But what about some of the other little things on the ground that does affect our day-to-day lives in terms of water runoff and so on? Because you spoke about the river. There are 2 rivers that run into the Scarborough Bay, and it comes with a lot of silt and pollution and so on. But what are we doing to ensure that our runoff, because smells that sometimes hit you in Scarborough is not so pretty, and it's not something that we're accustomed to in Tobago. You know, we didn't have those things before. But how are we going to make sure that, you know, just our drainage, our sewage, all of that is being taken care of with this new redevelopment project?
All of those things will be considered. I think just as an explanation, Crooks River and I don't remember the name of the other one now, the one here.
Oh, yes.
The Crooks River comes from 2 areas, from Sergeant Kane and from the SDA Church in the back there. The plan is to run that river along the pathway to where the existing breakwater is, and build a catchment area there, purify it in some way so that the color changes and all of that. And we have that as a big water feature in the city. Mm. It will mean, of course, that we have to put some filtration systems upstream, instead of say upriver, because they're not really rivers. Upstream.
Yeah, upstream, yes.
To trap debris and to make sure the water is gradually becoming of a better quality as we try to pond it. So there are engineering plans in place for the water control in the city, for drainage in the city.
And even ensuring that, I mean, the runoff that comes from the buildings and so on.
Yeah. All of those are a part of the plan. We are hoping to have a new and modern city, and so all of that will be considered as the company develops the plan fully for construction.
Mm-hmm. And then one thing I noticed about the plan as well is the emphasis on being environmentally friendly and using green technologies as part of the build out in terms of like solar lights and whatnot. So I wanted to speak on that a little bit more.
Well, you know, we came into office with the tagline green, clean, green, and serene, I think.
Clean, green, safe, and serene.
Clean, green, safe, and serene. And there's something that we've bought into. We have an island that where major acreages have been designated as forest reserve. We have flora, we have fauna, we have waterfalls, we have rivers, we have, Tobago is the ideal island for tourists to come and relax and enjoy. And we want to continue to sell the island as that. And so wherever we can build green buildings, LEED certified buildings in the city, that's what we will do. Whatever new technologies we can bring to ensure that the city works in a clean way, those we will incorporate. And so we believe that at the division, at the level of the administration, we're excited for what we think will come. And the discussions, of course, of how we move the island forward, it's going to be a very exciting time in the next 6-8 months or so.
So can we get some specifics as to, what are some of those visions for the plan? Like what's in the plan in terms of those incorporated, how are we going to incorporate in those green technologies and make sure that, we can contribute to the marketing of Tobago as this environmentally safe destination?
Well, I don't want to preempt what the intended proponent would come up with, but clearly power will be one of them. We have a LNG plant down the road, so certainly we would hope that the power from there will be brought to Scarborough in some way to power the ships that come in to the harbour. In terms of the LEED certification, maybe a policy statement from the THA that talks about new buildings being LEED certified. That would help, excuse me, in the kind of buildings that will be built. In terms of parking, all of those things can be mechanized in a green way. And so we are hopeful and we're excited for the discussion that would come. But for me to say this will be incorporated, that will be incorporated, as of now, is not something that I want to do.
Right. And of course, as a part, you mentioned, moving the relics as well. But I know in the plan, there is also a part for like museums and so on, so that we can actually see the wreckages and so on, and to perhaps revive that Rockley Vale project that was started several years ago.
Well, from we had meetings with the professor that came down from the States. I was involved in that project. From what I can gather, most of the ships there have been deteriorated significantly.
Yes.
And we've had a discussion of whether we can build out a Scarborough museum where we 3D print some of the artifacts on a smaller scale and put it into that museum. That's one of the discussions we've had. And we will see how that goes, but we believe that may attract a different kind of tourist to Tobago. And so we want to be as all-inclusive as we can be. And so we'll wait to see how that pans out, but further discussions, of course, will take place with that group. But no doubt, there are some benefits to be derived from building out a museum such as that. I know the one in Trinidad has a virtual museum, but if you can build a museum that has captured the wrecks in the bay, 3D printed, that would be a first in the region, I believe. There's also the idea of recreating the war in the bay and making it into a movie and having it being shown at some frequency in the museum, at the museum as well. So those things are discussions that we've had preliminary discussions on, and we'll see how it goes and what can be included and how cost effective it is.
Certainly. and as you mentioned, cost,
how we pay for it.
You're actually preempting my next question, and this really has to do with cost, because this is a major project that will be done in phases, and not all of it will not be done at the same time, and so on. And it might even take a little while to get started based on how large or how detailed the project is in itself. But I know you just came back from New York, where you were meeting with some of the diaspora across there, and hoping to engage them into seeing how they can partner with the THA towards financing. So I want to talk to you. I want you to talk a little bit about that, getting that financing going for projects like this.
So this is a major investment. We are now at the stage where we are looking at various financial models of how we bring on a contractor developer and to decide on what the payback model really is. We're looking at all the laws, Trinidad and Tobago, to see how that can work. But we believe that the revenue generating arms of the project will certainly be able to pay for the project in the medium term. And that's what the data suggests so far. When we come to the place where we've decided on one of the developers, we would sit down with them and discuss the various financial models. But no doubt, the cruise terminal, the cargo terminal, the car park, the transportation hub, those are the 4 revenue generating arms of the project. And we are hopeful that those arms will raise enough revenue to pay back for this project on its own. And so the initial data we have suggests that will be the case, and that the THA will collect part of the royalties from those revenue as well. And so we think we are in a good place, and we will present all that hopefully to the public later this year. We are also at this time working on making the submissions to the relevant authorities regarding the EIA and the CEC and so on. And those things are in the works, and we hope that we'll find favor with the EMA.
Well,
that's the best way I could say it.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that one up to the EME. I want to touch a little bit on 2 things that you just mentioned there. Well, actually, you mentioned it a little bit throughout, and that has to do with the transportation side of things, making a transportation hub, as well as increased parking in Scarborough, which both issues that are a major concern. Can you give us an idea of what does the plan speak to in terms as to how are we changing the way we treat with transportation in Tobago, especially where taxis and PH drivers are concerned? Are we going to have one centralized area where people go get their cars, so to speak, or what's going to happen?
Well, what we have now is a series of small car parks, taxi areas, people standing on the road on garden side to go to country along the whole stretch. Taxis, PH drivers pulling aside, blocking off part of the road. We don't have a planned city. And so the idea behind the transportation hub is to bring all of those people into one area and find a way to move them out as quickly as possible. That would mean, of course, fixing the road infrastructure in and out of that area. So essentially that's the plan. Again, it's an architectural concept we have. The architect still has to collect the data, the population data, the traveling data, to see what's the best design for that. That was not one of the deliverables of the feasibility. That detail, of course, but that study will be done, and I'm sure that the eventual design will meet the needs of a growing population in Tobago. We are building this that expects an increased population in Tobago, and that will be considered, of course, in the design. But I know from what I've seen, there are a series of roads that will complement the development. So, off my head, we are going to widen the downside of Dodge Fort. We put in some flash amber lights there, so that drivers can go now straight over onto Garden Side by Tiantec. That's a project that will be done hopefully in fiscal 24. We're also looking at connecting that road by the car park by the Gardenside car park, coming across through where NIB was, onto Wilson Road as well. And so we are hopeful that that can be done in fiscal 24 as well.
All right, there's quite a lot of good information. And viewers, if you want to know more about this Scarborough redevelopment project, you need to check the report out on the division's website. It's all
the
there.
THA website.
Oh, the THA website, sorry. And a simple Google search, you will find it. Scarborough Urban Redevelopment Project. It's on tha.gov.tt/Scarborough Urban Redevelopment Project. It's a very hefty document. It's very detailed. This is the feasibility study, and very soon, you, the public, will be able to come forward and make your contributions and make
to another series of consultations.
Yes, to make a comments and evaluate what works, say what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I think we are going to launch a website this month as well, and I'm sure the communication team will have a way where people can send their comments before we actually go to the consultations.
Can they send the comments now?
Well, I'm hoping that will be done after we launch our website.
Okay.
There will be a link for that to happen. I don't think it's available just yet, but no doubt this will be an ongoing communication with the people of Tobago, and we'll have a dedicated port for people to put their comments on what they think the city should include, what the design should include, what we should cater for, what problems we should solve, and so on and so forth. And that pool of information will be transmitted to the developer to be incorporated into the design, once, of course, it's economically feasible.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. James, for being on with us and for sharing all these great ideas and these plans that are hopefully to come. So, all right, viewers.
Thank you, Candice. It's always good to be in Tobago Updates.
All the time. So, viewers, thank you for being here with us, and I just hope you have a safe and wonderful day, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Tobago Updates.